So this video is just a guide so that you can understand what spine indexing is and figure out if you want to try to do it yourself at home. Personally, my plan every year is to spine index like 1 or 2 damaged arrows where my fletchings are messed up. But so far, I haven't repaired any of my arrows, but I did build a rig. I'll show you how I built it. And the rig that I built is just for me to fix 1 or 2 arrows a year. If you're gonna get into spine indexing your own arrows, then you're gonna want something nicer than this, something with bearings, something with less friction where the arrow touches on the ends and where the weight hangs in the middle. What your spine indexing is, and this is for carbon arrows because an aluminum arrow is built very consistently along its diameter, so it doesn't have such a noticeable spine. What your spine is just as you turn your arrow, if you have a weight hanging in the middle and it's supported out on the ends, as you turn it, it's gonna flex different amounts. It's gonna have a point where it flexes the most, and it's gonna have a point where it flexes the least. Now what you're gonna do is you're either gonna mark where it flexes the most, or you're gonna mark where it flexes the least. And then what you're gonna do is take your indexing vein, and that's either gonna go on the mark that you made or on the opposite side 180 degrees around from the mark that you made. So for specific questions on spine indexing, or if you just want somebody else to make awesome spine indexed arrows, then I refer everybody to John Smith. His contact is in the description below. And I also have an awesome video demonstrating his arrows that is also in the description below. Real quick, we're just gonna look at the coal stove that's in the back here because everybody likes looking at fire. And then we will get to how I built my redneck spine indexing setup. Just a shot of the coal stove because who doesn't like to look at fire? So first I have to cut my main body to length, and that cut most of the way through. Next I have to mark the center, and if you're not going to get to the exact center, you can mark from both sides, and then the middle of those 2 lines will be your exact center. And then I'm going to mark those spots with the center punch. Next we're going to head over to the drill press. I'm going to drop the bed down first, and then you can see the masking tape on my drill bit so that when I drill these holes, they're both going to go down to the same depth. After this, I'm going to knock that sawdust out of there just by tapping it on the table and then shut off the drill press. Now we have to get something to hang our weight from. I'm going to use like a mechanic's wire, 1 on each side. So we're going to put that on there, twist it up, trim it, get it nice and neat. And then I will use a screwdriver to make a point and a place for the wire ties to sit. So I'm going to flip that over, get the screwdriver, stretch it out a little bit. So that's one side done. Now we have both sides done. And then we're going to weigh the piece. I got the suggested weight from another guy that had a spine indexing set up on YouTube. With my wire ties, I'm going to go into the first click on each one so that they're even and then trim them off. So first click on that one, first click on this one. So my weight is ready to go. Now I need to know how much to cut off of my support arrows, so I got that measurement. Over to the lathe next, and I just found a mark on each arrow so that I can cut them both to the same length, and then this thing is going to be flying in a second here. After that, trimming up the end, make sure you don't cut towards yourself. Now on this step, I'm using this aluminum bracket, and I'm going to show putting in all 4 screws. Let me know your opinion. Should I show all 4, or should I just show like 2 of them? And then we'll skip over putting the bracket on the other side because it's the same process. And remember, John Smith is the go-to guy for spine index arrows. His info is in the description below. Then a steel plate on top with countersunk holes so that my screws don't stick out at all. And that's where the magnetic base for my dial indicator is going to sit. All right, so here it is. We have our brass weight. Our arrow goes through there into the middle of the arrow with the same amount of overhang on each side. That looks pretty good. This should be in the middle. And then our dial indicator, which is magnetic, goes on here. All right, that's locked down. And then this is going to come into the middle of the arrow and into it somewhere in its range. And then, you can turn your dial to where you want it. You can bring 0 around. And then you're going to spin your arrow. Okay, so let's try to get it to the highest point. Say right about there. So I can mark that. So I'm actually going to mark that with 1 dot as my lowest point. You want to mark your arrow back by the nock, not in the middle. And then we'll try to find the highest point. Seems like right about there. And I'll put 2 dots on it. So I know this isn't the fanciest rig you can build for one of these. You can do this all with bearings. But it did end up where my 2 dots for weak or strong are opposite, 180 degrees from my 1 dot. So this is the device that I built for spine indexing. You can mark your strong and weak point on your arrow, and that tells you where to put your odd colored vein. So any comments or questions, please let me know. And you can click on the square to check out a demonstration of John Smith's arrows and one of my bipods.